So it's so funny because every time a new technology comes up, you see the thing on the surface and it is what it is. But the second and third order dynamics and the organizational dynamics and all the offshoots, there's so much more to managing something like AI and how it's going to reinvent your company than just how do we deal with the AI itself.
Right. That's the key.
Right.
And where people are focused is the AI itself. They're
Yeah.
focused on prompts and cool videos and, you know, the how many tokens should be used to do this or that. It's it's not it's not what's going to drive the business value. It's going to drive a lot of entertainment value for
Yeah.
sure, right? Just like ChatGPT has driven a lot of entertainment value.
Yeah.
But writing contracts more effectively, these are the boring things, right? This is the boring stuff that we do day in and day out. But the boring stuff is being better at writing contracts, taking your sales team and the people who are in that second tier of performance and bringing them up to the potential that the first tier of salespeople are.
Yeah.
Right? How do you do that using AI? Taking the way that people handle P&C claims. How do you get your average adjuster performing at the level of your best, or maybe not your best, but pretty darn close? How do you get them performing at that level? That level of operational excellence, I think, is where, at least in the short term, given where we are in the environment today with the economy, that's where the value is going to come
Yeah.
from. And once interest rates and the election and all that are behind us, I think we're going to be in a little bit different place where growth is going to become a priority again,
Yeah.
across the board. And it'll be a whole new set of use cases that come to bear. But I think in the short run, there's a massive amount of value to be captured by doing it right at this stage in these operational areas where you can just clearly go in and see, wow, what if we could just enable this with 1,000 other people? What would that look like?
Yeah.
Right. And there you'll create hundreds of millions of dollars of value for your company.
So I think it's really interesting. So it's sort of like if we make a reference back to Bubba Gump Shrimp, right? So the growth strategy there was to get through the storm, right? And that's part of
That's right.
this.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting is we're talking about elevating the discussion, right? So the discussion around AI is around like, here's 1,000 prompts to do 1,000 different things. Like it's kind of like when the web first came out, you could go to the bookstore and there were these printouts of like 1,000
Right.
websites and be like, okay, what do I do with that, right?
Right.
So it's sort of like scattershot tactical. And the next level up is to say, okay, well, now it needs to become focused strategic. And within an organization, the way to think about this, or the parallel to, say, an investing firm would be that's like the startup within the organization. Like, what is this project? What is this initiative's goal strategically to experiment with AI and to figure something out? And then the next level beyond that is what's the portfolio strategy for the organization? How do we manage all of these bets on AI to try and move the organization forward? And then even beyond that, how does all of this create a new emergent reinvention of the organization? Once we get good at all these different things, and this is like you said, you use the word boring. It's pretty funny, but it's not, it's like blocking and tackling, right? How
It
do we
is.
get we have to get good at the tactics, got to be good at that stuff, get good at the strategy with each initiative, figure out how to measure and pull things into the organization and then figure out how to ultimately reinvent the company around this.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the what I'm hearing from the consulting firms is scares me a bit, just because they see this as another inflection point for a new set of practices and generating a new set of revenue for themselves. They are not set up to help you succeed. Right? Consulting companies, there's a billing rate, and they want to bill you at that billing rate for as many units on that billing rate as possible for as long as possible. Now, there are some exceptions that some consulting firms are are more driven on impact. But by and large, that's what they do. So they see this as an opportunity to help you drive 100 different use cases and build 100 different platforms and attack 100 different things in your operations. They're not going to help you prioritize the three things that are going to drive the most impact for your organization, because that's not how they get paid. The other way that they don't get paid is helping you transform over time, helping your organization get the right skills and capabilities and tools over time. They get paid on executing, doing their projects, moving on to the next project, right? If you build capability, or if you take 6 months to build your internal capabilities, that's 6 months of revenue that they don't realize. And ultimately, if you build the capability, then they don't get the revenue for doing that work for you. Again, if you're implementing Salesforce, you know what the end state is going to look like. You need a bunch of people to show up. The school bus pulls back.
And by the way,
part of
the end state is not that you're going to become a Salesforce implementation company, because that's not what you do. So that's totally
okay.
Right.
That's right. That's exactly totally okay. Right. So they'll drop in 100 people, they'll put in Salesforce, they'll write requirements. And a lot of them are doing a really nice job of using AI to make themselves more efficient. So when you're negotiating these deals with them, you should make sure that you're getting advantage of the fact that they've become more efficient using AI. But that start and end point are clearly defined. And that's what they're good at executing to. This is different. This is taking your capabilities that you have today and twisting them just a little bit to be able to meet the technology where it is, and then as it evolves, be able to meet the technology where it is as it evolves. And it's not difficult or complicated. You don't need to change your dress code and tear down the walls in your office building. Those are not the things that drive the value here. It's strategic thinking, building the vision, and then laying down the right governance, the right ways of working, and the right strategy and funding mechanism to prioritize what you're working on.
But the deliverable, I mean, I think this is a great comparison, right? Because when you want Salesforce, the deliverable is the Salesforce is implemented in your company, right? So you shouldn't go figure out how to do that. You should go find best of breed provider to be able to do that. But what we're talking about here is reinventing yourself with AI in the DNA. That's a transformation exercise, and everything we've been talking about. So you need to figure out how do you go through that transformation, not how you can't outsource the transformation.
That's right. That's what you can't do, is you cannot just give it to somebody to go execute on your behalf. That's the key. And who are you giving it to, right? You've got a few limited choices. You got the old school traditional kind of, jacket and tie C-suite consulting firms. You've got these tech implementers, hundreds of thousands of people in their organizations, and they bang out technology. And then you've got the audit firms. Like literally, that's your choice of who you're going to outsource this to. So do you want to, have any of them actually achieved what you need to achieve, is transforming your underwriting and onboarding processes to give a better experience to your customer, or changing the way you write legal contracts by enabling junior people to do what senior people can do today? They don't know how to do that stuff in your industry, right? They've seen it done, but they don't know how to do that stuff. They've never done it before. It's just all theory. They're learning alongside you.
No, I think that's great. There's nobody with 10 years experience transforming organizations with generative AI.
Exactly. So it may as well be you that builds the skill set rather than building it at some audit firm.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. So
cool.
All right.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, no, this is it's funny how like something that seems small, like a new technology, turns out to be like when you peel the onion goes down, the onion turns into a rabbit hole when you start peeling it. And that's why I think it's important for people to start having these discussions, because there hasn't been a lot of talk about the strategic integration of AI into the fabric of an organization to reinvent it.
That's right.
So
That's right. And it's no different than how you've done any smaller changes in the past. That's the one thing that I keep talking to my clients about is the world hasn't just completely changed because generative AI was dropped. The way of doing work will change, but the way that you run a company will not change. And people always throw out Uber. What about Uber? What about Amazon? It's like, great. Those were into, like, think about the taxi cab industry. If you are a global consumer products company, you're not a taxi cab company, right?
yeah,
You're not a fragmented industry with, massive synergies from consolidating and making the customer experience better. If you are a fragmented industry, if you're, a janitorial services company that you do 5 different buildings in your metropolitan area, and there are thousands of companies like you, yeah, technology is going to change that model,
yeah,
and financing is going to change that model because there's a lot of synergies and value to be captured there. There's, Harvard Business School, uh, they have these competitions, the business plan competitions. Every year, it's about how we're going to build this private equity firm to roll up janitorial services companies, right? And 50 other companies like that. So Uber is an example of that. Amazon is an example of, they haven't made any money yet, right? Like, Amazon is an example of where the financing model of that industry has changed. And it's not about groceries have changed.
yeah,
It's about how you can use the equity markets, and you can use the technology platform, and you can use advertising to fund a loss leader, which is your grocery business.
yeah. Great. Well, Raj, thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, it's been fun.
All right, cool.